Florabella on my screen. Her smile, it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene. In the morning or the night, recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence, it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora, she's got that power, spreading her aura, blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong.
Battles got power, Florabella stands tall. Every drip, every drop, watch the haters fall. Channel sharp as thorns, ain't taking no mess. Scroll through her feet, feel that queen's finesse. Vines tangle tight, but Flora breaks free. Roots so deep, can't mess with her tree. From the mud she rises, roses from the dirt. Every comment section she lays down hurt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. From the garden green to the concrete wall, Florabella, unstoppable nature's child. Leaves whisper secrets, she's the loudest shout. From the channel buzzing, she never backs out. Seed of strength, through seasons she grows. In the face of doubt, her spirit glows. Cameras ain't a limit, she branches out. Thorns in her crown, she wears it no doubt. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless. Flora's anthem, blooming under pressure. Resilient, resolving, no lesser. Florabella's reign strong and relentless. Beauty in battle, queen sure defenseless.
Okay, everybody. Okay, let me just make sure. Okay, yes. All right. So, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. I wanted to keep the motion going. The motion that kind of got going earlier today and earlier this week in terms of the subject, staying on brand with having the deeper conversations. And tonight, I want to talk about Is the manosphere cultivating dangerous men? Now, most people hearing this question who've probably been on YouTube for a long time and have a general history of the manosphere, MGTOW, all these different movements online, right? You're probably thinking, oh, this is such an overdone subject. But if you really think about it, right, in terms of the timeline from when women and other people online started to recognize that the red pill, manosphere, bandit sphere type spaces could lead to a negative mindset in real life, to where we are today, right? I think there really hasn't been a stretch of time that we've analyzed and talked about how this is affecting the world today, how men are being affected, how young men are being affected, right? By this influx of information that's coming from sources we should not trust, right? People who are giving young people, sorry guys, I have to grab something, who are giving young people poor advice about genders, relationships, how to relate to the opposite sex. I mean, it's getting very bad, right? And so I wanted to have this conversation because these spaces, we really have to understand these MGTOW, manosphere, black manosphere, all these types of spaces have kind of been rolling out kind of slowly over the last decade or so, right? And right alongside with that has been an influx in violence from younger men, a loneliness epidemic, right? An epidemic of where men are getting their ideas about gender and relationship from online. And that's translating over into ideas and beliefs about women and relationships that are extremely harmful, right? We're talking simply from a public health perspective, right? It's not good to have the young men in a very free country and society believing that women should be reverting back to times where they lacked freedom, they lacked rights and protection from the states. I mean, we're looking at comment sections that look like the 1950s today, and so that should tell us something about the type of message that's being spread around. Hey Shelton, LDBC or nothing reloaded. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's an interesting question, Joanne. I definitely think too much access to corn is part of the problem, right? Instant gratification. You know, there's going to be a video we're going to cover today that's going to talk about certain things men never had access to the way that they have access to today, right? And that's actually changing the way their brains are wired. So yeah, I definitely think corn is one of those things that is kind of impacting the mindset and beliefs that men and young boys and young adults have today. All right, so we're gonna get really into all of it, really, but I wanted to start off with a little lighthearted video from Stephen. All right, because I think a lot of the times we're sort of getting to a point now. No, that's all right. I just know that if I say it or write it places, my channel can be stricken. So that's why I changed it, just because the language can have, it can even restrict the stream while we're live. So that's why I was trying to make sure that I don't say it out of my mouth. But I wanted to start with this video from Stephen Colbert because I think when we talk about young men and the manosphere and kind of what's going on online, there's a lot of gaslighting, right? And you'll see once we start kind of getting into some of these videos that I'm telling you, this is crazy. I've never seen videos like this. And I'm not talking about, I've never seen social commentary consumed to this degree, is what I'll say. And I'm saying, like, okay, I get it. But usually I would see these type of numbers for comedy, for like other cringy things, But the things that young men are watching today that are going viral because of young men, very disturbing. All right, so let's get it. Yeah, Jen Benson said toxic masculinity. Absolutely, it's literally toxic masculinity that's just kind of wrapped in a lot of misogynoir, a lot of just brazen male toxic male culture in general, like very gross. All right, well, we're talking gross like Andrew Tate levels, and then like everything around that umbrella. So let's start with this video. He kind of deals with it in a lighthearted way, right? But this is a serious issue. He's being very silly and funny with it, but this idea of an alpha, a lot of these bandits take this very, very serious. All right, very, very serious. Right, their ideas of being a masculine man is coming and being conceived almost 100% on the internet. It's a very scary thing. Hey, Lana Love. Good evening. How you doing today? All right, let's continue with the video. Conversation of access comes in. Right? Man didn't used to have access to instant gambling, instant gratification in the form of, corn and other things like that. Right? That was not a thing back in the day, right? You used to have to work very hard to get access to some of these more deviant things. But these young men are being handed that today. And they're actually being removed from society where they used to build friendships and relationships and learn social skills. Right? Some part of me is starting to think this is manufactured and engineered and being engineered this way. All right, let's continue. And this is that male math, right? Where men are literally, their idols are men online, men who don't know anything, who have not maintained healthy structured relationships, who have not accomplished anything that the men of the past have accomplished. Right, they've built nothing, no foundation. They're simply moving off of ego. Richard Jennifer, all right, he has a long paragraph for us, so I have a feeling this is definitely a MGTOW. The MGTOWs, because they've gone away from women, they have so much time on their hands. So let's get into it. If you're on the train, do you want an alpha to stop the knife using crazy? If you're understanding weak person, my wife stopped the violent assault, saved the kid. So what do you mean by alpha, sister? I don't know what you're trying to say there, my friend. I think you need to clarify a little bit further. What I am trying to say there, what I'm trying to say, let me put my glasses on. Is there no pace for calm? Yeah, now we're speaking in other things. Guys, I look vitamin D deficient. I don't know what's going on with me. I need to get outside and get some sun. But what I'm gonna say is this. I just don't understand why you guys keep trying to feed this fake alpha dude that doesn't exist, right? We've seen women, men, children, people in general being attacked in public, and all the alpha males must have been at home. All the alpha males must have been at home that day because all they did was record, call the police, upload it on World Star Hip Hop. All the alpha males must have been on vacation that day, right? Every day that we see people in danger. This is the same argument of, oh, a hero with a gun is going to save a degenerate who's taking advantage of our gun rights as Americans, right? And we sat there and watched while there was a shooting in a school where the police officers were afraid to approach the suspect. We've seen that with our own eyes, right? So this idea of this infamous alpha male who's just so strong, standing on his tippy toes, the biggest, baddest man in the world, he does not exist. Why do they keep trying to feed this to us? Right? Why do they keep trying to feed this big, bad alpha male that we all know doesn't exist? All right. So when I see these examples, I'm just very confused. All right. So let's go into CNN. And I'm just gonna give a shout out to CNN because I think it's very thorough of them to send a woman into right-wing dating spaces and to send her to date a right-wing bandit and then come back and report. I think this is one thing I agree about white women. They are very thorough, right? Because I wouldn't do it. You could not pay me to date one of these right-wing weirdos. You couldn't. Joanne Jenkins says strength isn't bad, it's the stuff that goes with it. Yeah, and it's how that strength is used as well. All right, so let's play this next video here. This one specifically is talking about those women, or that woman, I'm sorry, who went undercover and dated only right-wing men. These what you would call these manosphere type dudes online. She only dated from that sector of dudes, and she's going to talk about her experience. All right, let's get into it.
CNN's Dodie O'Sullivan got in the cage with former UFC star turned podcaster Jake Shields to explore the manosphere and why exactly it's so popular.
They speak liberal, they have liberal friends, and then they go online and they are a white supremacist.
This is Vera Papasova. She spent the last year dating.
She said y'all are two-faced. Right? I wonder. So I'm when she says right wing, I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that she says talking about white men. Okay, it's pretty clear from the platinum blonde and the blue eyes that she's likely talking about right wing men. So what they're doing is pretending to be regular, well-adjusted, left-leaning men. Right? And then you go out on a date with them and you find out that they're, or not even you go out on a date, but they log on to YouTube. If you were to go and log into their YouTube account, you would see Andrew Tate, all these different dusty channels that talk about women and hitting the wall and getting old, right? But let's get into it.
They have liberal friends, and then they go online and they are a white supremacist.
This is Vera Papasova. She spent the last year dating far-right men in New York City for a story for Cosmopolitan magazine.
They're the most insecure men I've ever sat down with. It was really difficult to have some of these dates because they were so insecure, because they don't really know who they are and they don't know how to figure that out.
She said the men she dated got all their news and information from the so-called Manosphere.
They did not listen to anything else. They're only listening to independent media, and they're only listening to men talking to men.
The Manosphere is made up of macho podcasters and influencers.
There's no such thing as an independent female.
Most women have zero concept of money.
Females don't have independent thought.
It's a space where UFC fighters are among those who reign supreme.
They love the UFC guys. They love the MMA guys because those guys do what they can. They're modern gladiators. They're badass.
Badass like Jake Shields, a former UFC star turned podcaster.
All right. Now I'm starting to feel nervous. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
Who I met at an MMA gym in Las Vegas.
Like all great MMA pros. I've never hit anyone in my life.
I'm not punching you back. Hit me. And then I sit right here.
And I'm glad that you brought this up. Caravate, right? Liberal friends by day, Groiper by night. Right? Because you have to remember, these people are not bold enough to stand in their weird, dusty, race-based ideology, right? Because Groipers absolutely are race-based. They believe that white men are superior and they're the ultimate leaders and things like that, right? So yeah, absolutely. They know they can't tell their friends these things. They know that well-adjusted people are going to think something is wrong with them if this is their ideology, if they were to speak that ideology. Hey, Asia Graves, how are you? I'm sitting here trying to read Richard's paragraphs. Richard, you got to learn how to do some spark notes or wrap up your thoughts in a few sentences because it's too much. Yep, people that live with their parents, absolutely. Right? People who haven't even built, not even, let's take it away from people who even live with their parents, but men who have like 6 roommates or live with another dude or even worse, live alone. right? And are out here kind of moving amongst the world with nobody, no friends, no associates, no girlfriend, no nothing, never had a good or healthy relationship in their life, that's a lot scarier. All right, let's continue. Oops, hold on.
This is CNN. Do you miss being full-time pro, like in terms
Oh
of?
yeah, you know, of course I miss it. To go from professional athlete, which is the highest of highs, to retirement.
And I
You have
guess
to find,
the
the
podcast-
podcast has helped. You could fall into depression if you just go from the most amazing career where you're famous and spotlights to all of a sudden you're a nobody.
Sure.
Like other podcasters in the Manosphere, Jake regularly hosts controversial guests.
And I named the podcast Fighting Back. I feel like we have to fight back what we're told we're allowed to do. I just don't like to be told you're not allowed to talk to this person. Like, why can't I talk to him? I'm not saying I agree with his ideology, but I should hear what he has to say.
He's hosted the former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
Today I have a very,
You know what's so funny? Right? Why shouldn't I talk to this person? Why not? It's not like I agree with them. I just want to hear them out. Brings in the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, you could have brought anybody in. Madonna, Howard Stern, any controversial figure you choose, the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, white people just write the jokes themselves when they say and they do certain things. Right? A lot of these right-wing weirdos, right, who are aging like a bag of potatoes, their ideologies are written. It's already written in their DNA, a lot of these people. Right? The only thing they know is to try to feel superior out of their inner weakness that they feel. And so, yeah, a lot of these types, he's no longer an MMA dude. He's no longer popular in the spotlight. He doesn't feel like a macho man. And so what does he have to do? He has to go on the internet and talk ish about whatever nonsense male-related stuff that he thinks. Caravate says, exposure to all different radical views is good, I think. I think there's a limit. Because I don't need to listen to a bunch of dusty white groypers justifying racial prejudice and police brutality for hours on end for me to understand that they exist and they have a different perspective. I don't need to do that. So I do feel like there's a limit to that. I do think people need to know. They need exposure to who and what is really out there. So if there are groypers and people like this who have disgusting, disparaging views, we should know what they are and be able to identify them. Absolutely. Outside of that purpose, no. No one needs to be interviewing the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. Somebody needs to be offing him, right? I'm not gonna tell anyone to do that. But I'm just saying, like, no one needs to sit here and listen to the ideology of somebody who believes that a certain race of people isn't even worthy of a life or freedom. Nobody. Let's continue, though.
special guest, Dr. David Duke. I knew you're controversial, but I had no idea how controversial.
And Thomas Russo, the leader of the white supremacist group Patriot Front.
Let's go where we disagree a little bit.
Yes, sure.
Let's hit race, because you're a white-only group?
So the organization only allows people of American ethnicity, and all Americans, I believe, come from Europe, so they're white.
The true heirs of the American spirit fight on! Yeah, no, I understand and talk to these guys, but I've also not brought anyone.
Actually, sir, Americans come from this native land, right? Native Americans. Your family members coming from Ellis Island are not natives to America. They're not Americans. They're transplants. They're transplants like the very people you guys don't want here. Ironically. But do they have books, history books, accurate history books in these rural towns where they're preaching for them to be white supremacists and groypers? No. They have internet, though. They have Cricket Mobile and Cricket Wireless so that they can listen to these Manosphere Dusties. But do they have history books? Do they have teachers? People who care to teach them the reality? No.
hateful. If I do, I'm going to be really, really on top of them.
But so you saying that you haven't brought someone hateful on, right?
On.
People say, well, you brought on
Yeah.
a Grand Wizard of the KKK, you brought on Patriot Front.
Yeah.
They're hateful.
No, I think those are excellent questions, but if people go and watch the actual interviews, I think they would be like, oh, this guy's not near as hateful as if I expect it.
But Vera says hate isn't what the men she dated were really looking for.
One of these guys brought me to a political meeting.
And did they talk about politics?
Barely. They talked about, it was a bunch of men complaining about girlfriends and wives, regurgitating Andrew Tate type of advice about how to train your girlfriend, how to train your wife to be submissive. And so this group was supposed to be a political group, but they're talking about relationship problems. And the fact that that's what most of the time was spent on, you don't need to be a neo-Nazi. You need therapy.
The appeal of Jake's podcast speaks to a need among young men in this country that Vera says can't be ignored.
You have to incentivize someone to want to be better. You can't just say, let's make men better. The thing about these guys is their biggest support system is online, but that also is very isolating, and isolation is what breeds hatred.
Groups like Patriot Front offer community, but community based on racism and hate.
People have to really think about, do you have the capacity to talk to people that you don't agree with? Because that one nice conversation you might have might change someone's day enough to not have to seek out help in an online support group, which is actually a bunch of white supremacists using political beliefs as an excuse for how they feel.
Donnie O'Sullivan is here with us now. Donnie, I'm so glad you've done this special. There's so much
interesting. That's exactly what these Groyper people are, right? They're taking young men and they're arming them with information that they don't even understand yet, right? They're arming them with politics that tells them they're going to have more freedom, they're going to be able to dominate and control women, are feeding them just a very despicable ideology that's not beneficial to men or women or really anybody at all. It doesn't benefit anybody. The ideologies and the beliefs that they're feeding young men today are simply meant to keep them alone and isolated, and spending their money online is really what it comes down to. All right, but let's see these last couple of minutes of this guy who interviewed with that man who had the interview with the guy from the Ku Klux Klan.
Intrigue around this issue of the Manosphere. And in fact, Trump is going to the UFC tonight. How big of a role does the sport play in the Manosphere?
Hey, Isabel, yeah, and look, we should point out at the start here, there's tons of guys who are fans, and some women as well, who are fans of the UFC. I have many friends who are fans of the UFC. It certainly does not mean, that if you are a fan of the UFC, you are falling sort of down this rabbit hole of hate and white supremacy and everything else. But what we are seeing is that there is this sort of, there is this crossover. The UFC is playing a greater and bigger role, really, in American life. Joe Rogan, who's the world's biggest podcaster, is a UFC commentator. Dana White, who is the founder of the UFC, is a prominent Trump supporter and was recently appointed to the board of Meta by Mark Zuckerberg himself, another big MMA and UFC fan. And actually...
And one thing I will say is I'm going to credit a few different YouTubers who talked about how celebrities are going to start moving into spaces that have originally in the past been reserved for, regular online content creators, like independent media creators, right? They're going to start filling these online spaces with these talking heads, right? And I definitely think putting some of these weirdos in these positions that have this ideology is just the beginning of that, right? Definitely just the beginning of that. Let's continue.
Fighting tonight in Miami. Trump is going to the event. We're not sure if he'll be there for the earlier fights, but fighting tonight in Miami at the UFC event is a fighter by the name of Bryce Mitchell, who recently set up a podcast of his own, and on his debut episode a few months ago, he said that Hitler was a quote-unquote good guy or a great guy. Dana White, the head of the UFC, was quick to condemn that, but you can just kind of see there where folks who might be coming into this sport for one reason are a fan of fighting, and then they're getting exposed to views like Bryce Mitchell's.
All right.
Black conservatives are.
Sorry. Oh, Lord. I spent a week with black conservatives. I don't even want to see that because we know. We know. All right. So we're going to move on here, right? And I do think there's a specific reason why this type of media is speaking to young men the way it is. I do think there's been a lot of different things that have isolated young men, right? 2025 at this point. 2025 was 5 years ago. Think about how many young men were in their junior or senior year when the pandemic sort of rolled out, right? And how many young men went from being outside, talking to people, having conversations. Even that was limited because of where we are in society and what technology has done, to where we are now, ending 2025 with people lacking, I think, social skills and awareness. It's something that I think has been exacerbated by things like the pandemic, where we were all at home, we were communicating online, we were over consuming media, alcohol, unhealthy foods. Some people blew up during the pandemic. Some people lost weight during the pandemic, right? It really depends on where you were kind of swinging in your personal growth. So let's get into this one and why Manosphere content is appealing specifically to some young men. All right, let's get into it.
Concerns around the proliferation of misogyny online and its migration into real-world interactions, especially those involving young men. John Yang has this story about a Detroit teenager's experience and the broader implications of this trend.
Like many his age, Brian Campbell says he grew up an iPad kid, playing a lot of video games.
You about to lose anyway, it don't matter.
And when the COVID pandemic forced schools to shift to remote learning when he was 12, his primary connection with friends was online.
I would spend all my time on the internet. Either I'm playing the video game or on TikTok, or both. Fortnite, NBA 2K. If me and my friends get bored playing it for 10 hours, then we scroll on TikTok and send each other videos, and then we get back to playing the game.
Eventually, content with a specific perspective started showing up on Campbell's feeds.
It is so easy to become a top-tier male in the world today because the competition is so ridiculously low.
Topics masqueraded as informational, kind of male improvement. I think a lot of these people have lived more life. They're rich, they're nice car, all that. Like what society says is the ideal for a young man.
The message appealed to Campbell, and the more he engaged with it, the more he saw. Campbell had found himself in the heart.
And you know what? I love that they talked about this, right? Because I think it's great that this man wasn't driven to act, but I also think it's important for people to understand that a lot of times when people start consuming this media and sort of becoming obsessed with these environments, it's encompassing, right? The people around them might not even understand the degree to which some of these spaces have a grip on their mind, right? A lot of people don't understand how involved people have become in these online spaces, right? So to hear this coming from a young man today, being able to admit kind of what he was going through, I think this was really brave of him. I do believe there's a lot of gaslighting. Sorry, guys. I do believe there's a lot of gaslighting, especially when people talk about this subject. They act like people are just being dismissive of men's issues, that they're just looking for another reason to hold men to an impossible standard. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true necessarily. I think there's a real issue that's brewing. All right, let's get into it.
Part of what's known as the Manosphere. The term broadly refers to online communities that create and share content aimed at men and boys. But there's growing concern about the ideas behind that content. Misogynistic, often conspiratorial beliefs about gender roles and masculinity. And thanks to a handful of key influencers, the Manosphere's reach has exploded. In an attempt to quantify that growth, researchers in Dublin set up accounts on multiple social media apps, posing as teenage boys. Last year, they reported that in less than half an hour, every one of the accounts was fed Manosphere content, whether they sought it out or not.
In the post-Me Too movement, we've seen this surge of online misogyny in particular.
Cynthia Miller Idris is the founder of the Polarization and Extremism Research and Innovation Lab at American University. Her book, Man Up, The New Misogyny and the Rise of Violent Extremism, will be published in the fall.
They land on an influencer who's offering them often very tangible and real help that makes a difference, right? Like get 8 hours of sleep and drink water and get to the gym. And they package that with scapegoating of women or treatment of women or an idea of success as being, dominant. And so, your life is improving while you're starting to believe this other stuff.
Women sell purity, men sell success.
This is seen as a more dominant position.
A woman wants sex more than the guy does.
The average woman will always cheat more than the average man.
That's the sort of content Campbell was seeing. Soon, he was echoing those ideas.
How, women want to control us and, us as young men, we have to not be at the whim of women and stuff I didn't really know what I was talking about, but it sounded good.
Joanne, I honestly am starting to believe that it's not that much of a difference, right? One thing that men definitely will come together for is for misogyny, right? And believing that women have a place, that they should stay in it. I definitely don't think that it's any different. I just think the people speaking it and saying it are maybe a little different. Maybe they're packaging it differently, but I don't think it's any different. And I even think that a lot of young black men online are getting messages, strong messages coming from right-wing conservative black men, right? One of the big ones that be online as dusty as ever, Anton Daniels, right? He was the first one to hop on Charlie Kirk's dead corpse and ride it like he could never ride anymore, right? We saw that. So I definitely think black men and white men are consuming the same type of manosphere content. Who's saying it is probably a little different. And I think there are some cultural factors that need to be changed as well. Now, I did originally want to do this stream specifically on the Black Manosphere. And then I was like, there's way too much overlap. And it would be pointless to separate this conversation by race, because I think one thing, like I said, that men can come together to do, right, is to believe in the subjugation of women. And that's kind of what we're seeing. So anyways, let's get back into this video. This is a young man. For those of you who may be just coming in or popping in and out of the stream, this young man is admitting to feeling driven by some of these online manosphere spaces that were giving and feeding him toxic messages about women and how to relate to them. And his brother and father are reacting to that.
Campbell's dad, Al, and his older brother, Brandon, who had fallen down similar rabbit holes when he was younger, noticed a change.
He started mentioning a lot of things typical of someone who believes that the world is against them, where you think that if you are not, I'll say in quotes, superior, then something's wrong. He was kind of taking on opinions that didn't sound like his own. They were opinions that I myself once had because I had gained them from someone else.
While Brian was seeing this material, were you aware of it?
I guess I didn't really pick up on it at first. But over time, you say a few things, it gets a little concerning, like, hey, my wife's going to clean up after me. Being the alpha male and the this and the that and the type of guy that's the strongest, the baddest, and everybody needs to bow down and respect you, but then you don't have to respect anybody else.
When it comes to behavior like this, there's really no excuse for it, but there may be an explanation for it.
Psychologist and author Lisa Damore specializes in adolescent development.
It's helpful to think about 12-year-old boys in broader context. Girls hit puberty before boys do. So what this means is that for 7th grade boys in general, the girls are often beating them at recess, and then they come into the classroom and the girls are often beating them in school. So if you are a 12 or 13-year-old boy and you have had a very rough day at school where a girl outran you at recess and then had all the right answers when you didn't understand what was happening in class, and you come home feeling pretty small and you hop online and there is somebody telling you, listen, guys are actually great and the thing that's holding us back are girls, that is pretty compelling.
Jamie, I want you to listen carefully.
Online radicalization and the Manosphere are at the center of the Emmy-nominated Netflix miniseries Adolescence, the platform's most-watched show in the first half of the year, with 145 million views. It's a fictional account of how these influences lead a teenage boy to murder a female classmate.
It's a call to action by the Manosphere. 80% of women are attracted to 20% of men. You must trick them because you'll never get them in a normal way.
In real life, there's a growing number of examples of Manosphere culture affecting interactions between boys and girls.
It's like little things like, oh, you should be back in the kitchen. And even though it's a joke, some people take it really far.
There are games that I've stopped playing because every single time I joined, I'd receive a rape threat.
Me and my former roommate were chased on campus by 2 different men saying that they were going to have a lot of fun with us that night.
Well, Frank Sinatra, who ironically is not a black man, unless I'm mistaken, he's an Italian man. Somebody could tell me different. But let me just say this. I haven't bashed a black man yet, right? But I definitely am going to tell you that in the black manosphere, there are a lot of negative, misogynistic things that they say about women, right? And what I decided is that they are no different than Groyburst and all these other environments that speak and bash, women in a way. I think that black men have always chosen the side of manhood, right? To go up with white men. They've always chosen that side, that women need to stay in their place. Hey, Sugar Bomb. She says, wow, I'm not shocked. Yeah, I mean, none of this should be shocking because men are just always going to be on one accord. Always. Let me see. All women should be in the kitchen. That's not man's. I'm going to read this. That's not man's law. That's God law. Wow, so you don't know any black man named Frank? No, I don't know any black man named Frank Sinatra, who's a particular black man. I don't know. And that's why you got tapped in the butt. But let's continue, though.
Of things are have migrated.
I don't know if you've been watching Sugar Bum, but this young man is talking about hey Booski. I don't know if you've been noticing, but this young man is talking about how he was being brainwashed by these spaces online. Right? They were telling him about women and relationships with them and how they act and things about whether or not they cheated or not. Like they were feeding him messages about women that he didn't understand where they were coming from. Right? But his family eventually realized it. Frank Sinatra says, it shows your true ignorance. Your brain actually assumes I'm Italian because of a made-up name, SMH. I'm just saying, right? You got the name of an Italian man, and it's not a made-up name. Frank Sinatra was a real man. Okay? Not made up. Oh, you just tuned in? Oh, listen. This young man here, and I'm actually gonna go back because I want us to really pay attention to what this young man is saying here, right? About how he, even though he never came from this environment or mentality, he was able to be tricked into believing these things about women and girls. All right, let's get into it.
We turn now to growing concerns around the proliferation of misogyny online and its migration into real-world interactions, especially those involving young men. John Yang has this story about a Detroit teenager's experience and the broader implications of this trend.
Like many his age, Brian Campbell says he grew up an iPad kid, playing a lot of video games.
You about to lose anyway, it don't matter.
And when the COVID pandemic forced schools to shift to remote learning when he was 12, his primary connection with friends was online.
I would spend all my time on the internet. Either I'm playing the video game or on TikTok or both. Fortnite, NBA 2K. If me and my friends get bored playing it for 10 hours, then we scroll on TikTok and send each other videos, and then we get back to playing a game.
Eventually, content with a specific perspective started showing up on Campbell's feeds.
It is so easy to become a top-tier male in the world today because the competition is so ridiculously low.
Topics masqueraded as informational kind of male improvement. I think a lot of those people live more life. They're rich, they're nice car, all that. Like what society says is the ideal for a young man.
The message appealed to Campbell, and the more he engaged with it, the more he saw. Campbell had found himself in the heart of what's known as the Manosphere.
And I just want to go back to Sugar Bum's point. She says the men are in a crisis. I feel like they're being radicalized online. They certainly are. Right? They absolutely are. And I'm going to tell you guys, when I started watching some of these MGTOW channels and these male-centered channels and the beliefs that they have about women, how they talk about women, how they talk about women wanting relationships, like all of it just really, truly disturbed me and let me know that men online are being fed very disgusting messages about relationships, about women, about what it's like to relate to women. You know, obviously, these men are getting online and they're talking to the worst of the worst, scum people who have no business advising men. They feed off male insecurity. They do. Right? You heard that psychologist. She talked about that young boy who maybe was looking up. Right? He was at that point in puberty where girls are surpassing boys. Right? She's growing. Her brain is developing. She's getting smarter, stronger, faster, quicker every day while he's stagnantly growing at a steadier rate. Right? And how that can make some of them feel like they're inferior to women. Hey, Happy Life, men are lost. They sure are. They don't like women. They're going to want to be Happy Life. Cut it out. Tina Bright says, it's happening every day, but I don't understand what Manosphere is explaining, please. So what I'm going to tell you, Tina Bright, is that the Manosphere is a place within the internet where men are communicating with each other about the values and beliefs of men. The problem with this is that you have young people whose brains aren't fully developed, who are still learning, but have direct access to the internet and less access to people in real life. And so what's happening is essentially brainwashing, right? You have young people communicating with people who don't have good intentions for them or for other young people. And so they're feeding very bad messages about women, relationships, love, all of that. ICY says women as well are given some very bad advice to other women. I agree with that. Absolutely. And when we listen to some of the MGTOW conversations and what they're talking about and what they're saying that women are talking about, I look at it and I'm like, what women are doing this? And I know in the back of my head that there actually are some women who are doing some of these really despicable things, expecting men to do this, that, and the third, or teaching women to seek out men for resources and things, which I don't believe any woman should do that, just because of the sheer danger that it puts you in. Right? But I definitely believe there are women out there giving bad advice. Tina Bray says, this is why we must have active fathers in the home. So many don't, and some dad are just so busy making the living. It's their main goal. It's more than just making a living, but I do think that making a living sometimes can create a blind spot. But I do think it's more than that. I think, men just are just not being socialized right. So even sometimes when they are in the home, they're not beneficial either. Right? Their mindsets and their thinking aren't helpful. Or they go the opposite direction and they tell women, don't trust these men, be independent, get your own. And they're feeding women messages that are going to keep them away from men, especially men that are trying to harm them. So, I mean, kind of goes in two directions. Yeah, they're being drawn to not good role models. We just listened to a video from CNN talking about how these men, these young boys, really, because they're teenagers and early 20s, they're being introduced to white supremacists, right, who are feeding them ideologies that are based off of their insecurities of wanting to be men, wanting to be bigger, better men. All right, but let's keep listening.
The term broadly refers to online communities that create and share content aimed at men and boys, but there's growing concern about the ideas behind that content. Misogynistic, often conspiratorial beliefs about gender roles and masculinity. And thanks to a handful of key influencers, the Manosphere's reach has exploded. In an attempt to quantify that growth, researchers in Dublin set up accounts on multiple social media apps, posing as teenage boys. Last year, they reported that in less than half an hour, every one of the accounts was fed Manosphere content, whether they sought it out or not.
In the post-Me Too movement, we've seen this surge of online misogyny in particular.
Cynthia Miller Idris is the founder of the Polarization and Extremism Research and Innovation Lab at American University. Her book, Man Up, The New Misogyny and the Rise of Violent Extremism, will be published in the fall.
They land on an influencer who's offering them often very tangible and real help that makes a difference, right? Like get 8 hours of sleep and drink water and get to the gym. And they package that with scapegoating of women or treatment of women or an idea of success as being, dominant. And so, your life is improving while you're starting to believe this other stuff.
Women's self-purity, men's self-success.
This is seen as a more dominant position.
A woman wants sex more than the guy does.
The average woman will always cheat more than the average man.
That's the sort of content Campbell was seeing. Soon, he was echoing those ideas.
How, women want to control us and, us as young men, we have to not be at the whim of women and stuff I didn't really know what I was talking about, but it sounded good.
And I'm glad he came to that realization that he really didn't know what he was talking about. Mr. Pokerus says, agree, sugar, they messing it up for the rest of us. I honestly think that you're right on point with that. And I'm going to say this. I think that men who want to be with women are absolutely being misguided by men like this, right? Men online who are saying things like that, who are speaking like Andrew Tate and the likes of them, where women are objective, or they're to be objectified, I should say, right? And they have no value to men outside of what they can utilize them for. Tina Bright says, man up is okay if it's for family and being involved. I am white and the white nationalists are not good people. ICY says, true, just because a man is in the home won't necessarily make him a good role model if he's not actively involved as a husband and father. Be careful who you choose to marry and bear children with. Absolutely, I believe this is the main advice that women should be getting. Outside of all the gaslighting and wanting to tell women, oh, choose better, choose better. I believe that if you love a woman in your life right now, you would tell her this. Right? Be careful who you choose to marry and bear children with. Not because we want to shame you and call you a single mother, but because that person is going to have so much control over you and your children's lives. And you want someone who's more concerned with your and your child's well-being than his own ego. Mr. Poker says, what happened to the dads and uncles that used to tell us, get you a church girl? Well, I don't know that any of those people are righteous in the first place, right? Those people in the church or their daughters. I think people have just lost their value. King Rooster said, sugar bum, these young men are waking up. No, I think these young men are being misled. Sugar Bum says, waking up and being violent or hostile towards random women ain't it. And I agree with that. I think these young men are being empowered to believe that women are, trying to withhold something from them or trying to teach them a lesson or trying to dominate them. And that's not true in the least bit, right? Men wanting to dominate, that's their own prerogative. Women aren't inserting that. They're not creating that. That's just what they want to do. So acting like that's something they have to do in response to women or society or culture is very weird. All right, let's continue though. All right, this young man is talking about being misled by Manosphere content.
Campbell's dad, Al, and his older brother, Brandon, who had fallen down similar rabbit holes when he was younger, noticed a change.
He started mentioning a lot of things typical of someone who believes that the world is against them, where you think that if you are not, I'll say in quotes, superior, then something's wrong. He was kind of taking on opinions that didn't sound like his own. They were opinions that I myself once had because I had gained them from someone else.
While Brian was seeing this material, were you aware of it?
I guess I didn't really pick up on it at first. But over time, you say a few things, it gets a little concerning, like, hey, my wife's going to clean up after me. Being the alpha male and the this and the that and the type of guy that's the strongest, the baddest, and everybody needs to bow down and respect you, but then you don't have to respect anybody else.
When it comes to behavior like this, there's really no excuse for it, but there may be an explanation for it.
Psychologist and author Lisa DeMore specializes in adolescent development.
It's helpful to think about 12-year-old boys in broader context. Girls hit puberty before boys do. So what this means is that for 7th grade boys in general, the girls are often beating them at recess, and then they come into the classroom and the girls are often beating them in school. So if you are a 12 or 13-year-old boy and you have had a very rough day at school where a girl outran you at recess and then had all the right answers when you didn't understand what was happening in class, and you come home feeling pretty small and you hop online and there is somebody telling you, listen, guys are actually great and the thing that's holding us back are girls, that is pretty compelling.
Jamie, I want you to listen carefully.
Online radicalization and the Manosphere are at the center of the Emmy-nominated Netflix miniseries Adolescence, the platform's most-watched show in the first half of the year, with 145 million views. It's a fictional account of how these influences lead a teenage boy to murder a female classmate.
It's a call to action by the Manosphere. 80% of women are attracted to 20% of men. You must trick them because you'll never get them in a normal way.
In real life, there's a growing number of examples of Manosphere culture affecting interactions between boys and girls.
It's like little things like, oh, you should be back in the kitchen. And even though it's a joke, some people take it really far.
There are games that I've stopped playing because every single time I joined, I'd receive a rape threat.
Me and my former roommate were chased on campus by 2 different men saying that they were going to have a lot of fun with us that night.
Those kinds of things are have migrated from online worlds into real life, sometimes in ways that boys are just trying to be provocative, sometimes in ways that are really dangerous stepping stones on the way to more harmful and violent content and behaviors.
Experts say the key to combating the spread of these ideas and preventing their worst effects is to engage with young men.
Don't start with a lecture. Start instead with a question. Ask, have you seen this? What is it like to see it? What do you think adults don't know about this that we should probably know? And how can I be helpful?
That's what happened to Brian Campbell in Detroit. Around Thanksgiving 2020, his older brother, home from college, sat him down for a long conversation.
So I wanted him to have a more, reflective idea of how he was engaging with others, how he viewed people, and how he interacted with them, less as ideas or groups of people, but as individuals.
Campbell says that talk helped pull him out of the Manosphere. He still sees online videos pushing misogynistic views, but he says he's able to tune them out and click not interested.
A lot of it was reminding myself about people in my life, like my grandma, my mom, remembering that there are real life women in my life that I respect and love, and that there's more to it than what the internet shows.
Yeah.
This fall, Campbell
and
will be
the internet is feeding men a one-dimensional, boys, males, whatever you want to call them. It's feeding them a one-dimensional perspective of women, right? That they're not people, that they're not to be respected and loved, right? And if you're a man who's vulnerable, who maybe doesn't have the best mother or female figures in your life, you might fall vulnerable to this, right? You might fall vulnerable to this ideology. And like these men said, imagine if this young man didn't have men in his life to tell him, hey, the stuff that you're saying doesn't sound right. The ideology that you're espousing here in front of us doesn't sound right. We don't like this alpha male talk. We don't like this whatever other male centered talking that you're doing online. It doesn't sound right to us. Hey Robin. Hey boo boo, what's going on? Mr. Pokerus says, I still think it's crazy that we got to this point of discourse between genders. I think that stuff appeals more to people without male role models. I agree. But also, I like, okay, I like that you said without male role models, because that can apply to men and women, right? If we're talking about men and women that either didn't have male role models or good male role models, right? So they had men in their life, and those men were full of misogyny and other stereotypical gender problems, right? Then that's part of the issue too. How you doing today, Robin? We have Victor in here, obviously twerking. He says, stop typing my name all over the internet before I put your real name in the check. These people don't know me like that. Victor, you get on these chats talking out your ass all day. At this point, they know you. But hey, Robin. Right? Let's continue, though. Right? Luckily, this young man had people in his life to check him.
In high school, his summer is filled with internships and other programs. Now, when he hears friends make misogynistic comments, he tries to speak up. What I won't do, he says, is be complicit. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm John Yang in Detroit.
Oh, sorry, guys. And it's a real issue. It's a very real issue that we're sort of facing in society, dealing with these young men who don't know. They don't know how to tell the difference. Now, let's talk about the black manosphere for a second, right? Black men at some point worshipped Kevin. They worshipped his every word, his every advice, right? So, in this conversation, what we're going to talk about is the manosphere cultivating dangerous men. I think so, right? Men are coming to these men online for advice in their real lives and how they're dealing with real women. All right, today we have an example of that we're going to look into. Do me a favor, guys, if you can, like the stream, share, subscribe, all of that if you're enjoying the content. He's not a bad looking young man. IDK why he fell into that. Yeah, I agree, Sugar Bum. I think that young man with the dreads, I think he was handsome. I just think he probably was lonely. Maybe he didn't have a tribe of people that he was friends with yet. And so because he went into the pandemic, because he talked about that, being isolated from his peers and stuff. A lot of these men are jealous of women and want to trade places with them. I agree. The men of today are completely emasculated. Hey, A-Dub. I've seen it all at this point. When I seen a man get feed in Robin, stop! I almost choked. Feed in braids by another man, and that was a quick weave too. That was a quick weave, Robin. Stop it. That man's went in there, got himself his little extension. Now his little hang time. Hold on. His little hang time is like this now. Oh, this is how you get extensions. How you get extensions to get a braid this big? Hold on. How you get extensions to get a braid this big? Like, that's crazy to me. I just, oh, Robin. Woo, your volume went out when you said that name. Oh, I'm sorry. Vic, you gotta stop being emotional in the chat. Like, people are just addressing your comments. If you don't like that, stop saying the dumb shit that you say. All right, so let's get into how Kevin Samuels was actually these men's father at one point.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Pearl Media. Today we're reacting to a Kevin Samuels video with some honest, unfiltered thoughts. Let's get right into it.
How you doing, Kevin?
I'm well. How old are you?
35.
All right. And what are women getting wrong today?
I think it's the feminine aspect in general. I was married for 6 years. I have 2 kids out of that marriage. And from what I see, most of the time, in relationships past that and with that, it's just that feminine side of things. They want to kind of take over at a certain point when a man tries to allow them to have a voice, allow them to, try to make some decisions together and do some things, and just the nagging overall.
Okay, let's make it clear. Are you saying that women have a problem with the feminine aspect, but are you saying, it sounds like you're saying women are being masculine?
Yes, women are being too masculine. Absolutely.
All right, and then you said something about when you allow them to, say again, you allow them to what?
To have more of a say-so in the
more of a say-so in what regard?
I would say just in the aspect of they want certain things to transpire, like maybe you helping out with certain aspects of the child care, or you helping out with certain aspects of just around the house things.
Well, I don't understand where a woman can be inner masculine by asking you to help with the kids. So I'm not being clear. What are you allowing her more latitude with that's in the masculine realm?
I would just say just feeling like they're the one in control of certain things.
Such as
with the kids, with the kids, or just.
Let me just say this. You're sitting here online beating your chest about being a masculine man, but you want to argue with your wife about how she raises the children in your home. The only direct role that she has is as the caregiver and the person who's going to raise the kids. But you want to control that, right? Which is pretty much just proof that these men are just weak. That's all it is. That the control that they're looking for is out of weakness. Empress says, I can't believe that they actually listened to Kitten Heels. He was behind in child support, alimony, etc. Yeah, he was. Joanne, this is my thing, is the allow, right? These men are already delusional, but now they're coming online to speak with him about conflict resolution. Who knows the dynamics of their relationships at this point? And this man sounds like real deal irritated too, looking like Nature Boy.
Such as, let's say, how the child should be bathed, or how the dishes should be washed, or where they should be put. It's the tone.
But what I'm not understanding, brother. That's the purview of women. Like, why do we have any input in that at all?
That's my thing. If the man is already handling the situation, but they
okay. But why are you handling it?
Why? Because in my situation, I was able to be home more often.
But that's not your. See, listen to what I'm about to say. You said the women are following with the femininity and they're being too masculine, but you're in her territory. What you just described.
I'm just going to say this. I see why. I don't think men are being emasculated. I don't. I do think there are probably some sectors of women out there whose sole intention is to emasculate men, sure. But on a wide scale, no. On a general scale, right, taking it out of the anecdotal experience of certain men, no, I don't think men are just being emasculated. Hey, Davey. Got the eyes going. I don't think men are being emasculated. No. I do think men are being challenged now, right, to provide other things other than finances. They're being challenged to be good partners and things like that, things that they haven't previously been challenged to do. Hey, DB, what's going on, beauty queen? Right? What do we think? Is the manosphere cultivating dangerous men? Right? Are these conversations from dangerous men actually leading to bad in-person relations between men and women? A lot of men and a lot of women would say yes, right? But do men agree? Do we agree about this? How the dishes should be washed, bro? What? No, seriously. This is the type of shit that men want to argue about. I'm telling you. And I'm not gonna say men. This is the type of shit that males want to argue about. Are the dishes being washed properly? Oh, she want me to do this with the plate. She want me to dry the. She wants me to dry the dishes with a rag. Who this hoe think she is? That's what these men are saying. DB said, "I think at this point these niggas are emasculated by nature." DB, DB, listen. They're emasculated by their gender. Like they're emasculated by being expected to be men. Like it's so much. Um, yes, I think the Manosphere Red Pill are ruining possible relationships for men. I agree. I think the Red Pill and Manosphere is telling men that acquiescing, compromising in relationships is bad, and that they shouldn't compromise, and that they should expect women to acquiesce to them, which is interesting. You don't want to compromise, but you're telling young men that women should compromise for them and for their standards. Sugar Bum said, I think men are emasculating themselves, each other. It's men demonizing men. They think I don't have traditional men-led households. Empress Kia says, if they do not know how to be good partners, what are they expecting? If you do not know how to be a good partner to your partner, right? They're not putting out good, but they're expecting good, healthy women to come back and be with them, which is just a very strange thing. Right, but just imagine that this is a real scenario. This man is actually having an argument with his wife about what's going on in their household and about how things are being run, and he calls into Kevin Samuels, and Kevin Samuels gives him bad advice. Right? How would this go versus how it might have gone based off of this particular conversation? Thank you so much, A-Dub, for the super chat. He says, support the damn show, people. Yes, guys, support real topics, real content, real conversations. Support it all. It's greatly appreciated. But if you just want to support me with a like, with a share, with a subscribe, that's enough for me too. Do that, please. Sugar Bum says, yes, their future relationships are already down the drain. The Manosphere, DB says, the Manosphere doesn't realize that they are contributing to the male loneliness epidemic. They sure are. They are, because they're teaching men what to expect out of relationships, and that is not real. What they're telling men to expect out of relationships is not realistic. It's not healthy. It's not good for men. It doesn't cause more men to be happy in relationships with access to women. It does not. Yeah, they don't have any. They have zero self-awareness. You're right. Tina Bray says that's how it's supposed to be. You are a couple and parents. Neither one got there alone, so it's a joint partnership. And when you don't treat your partner and your family as a joint endeavor and goal, I don't know what you were going to say after that. A person called and asked Kevin for advice. Guess what? The wife divorced him. Listen, because you can't idolize these people online. You have to love and care for the person you're with. It can't be someone online to feed you your ideology. Let's keep watching this video, though.
With a man who was not in his masculine. You were in the feminine space. You can't be tripping that a woman treated you like a woman in her space.
So
just because you were home.
Not really home, but I mean,
it doesn't matter. That's her space. Women, let's say you were rich, right? You could still be home. You know, just like I know, women have a different way of nesting. They like the house to look a certain way. We're supposed to be responsible for the outside, and they're responsible for the inside. They like the pillows fluffed a certain way, this, that. And just because you can fluff a pillow, that's their job. You ain't asking her to cut the yard or edge it, are you? I mean, she could do it, but you know how to do it different. You're in her space.
and I would say also the aspect of being able to take in information. I heard what you said to the last person, you know, as the general, are you giving out, you know what I'm saying, the right orders and measuring those things. And I saw it as I aligned everything, you know, biblically, you know, as I was giving out, you know, those types of things. And, you know, she was submissive in the beginning.
Giving her information. What kind of information are you talking about then?
Information such as maybe different ways to handle finances.
Whose job is it to handle the finance?
I mean, we both handle them.
Okay, see, if you listen to me, this is a good conversation because you mentioned biblically, but I've mentioned this before. Oftentimes we overload our women doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Pressure's made for shoulders, not for hips. Did you have an abundance of finances?
Not at that time. Now I do.
All right, so that's a pressure situation. You're involving a mother in stressful financial decisions. Could you have handled them yourself?
Yeah, I think I could have handled them all myself.
Then you should have. We don't need, and I've done this myself too. That's why I said pressure's made for shoulders, not for hips. See, what you described is a situation where you're in places you shouldn't necessarily be in the best fit, and then places where you should be 100%, you're delegating. You should stay over here, and you let her be over there. If you can't handle the finances, and she's better at it, then that's one thing. But if she's not better at it and more qualified, then your job is to go find somebody who's more qualified because that's the security of the house. And let her fluff the pillows. But see, you describe a situation.
And you know, it's interesting when he even does advise these men, he still goes back to that misogynistic perspective. He still goes back to that, oh, the woman's value comes to what she brings in the home. Don't interrupt that. Don't disrupt that, because what she's doing is providing exactly what a woman's supposed to do. And if she doesn't want to do what you want, then you go find another woman, right? He even still turns it into a male-centered concept when it's really based on giving the woman the space in the home to be expressive, right? Is essentially what's being said. Happy Life says men go out and provide, women stay at home and take care of the kids. That's a natural order. And also a woman can work at home. Yeah, I mean, I think it's so weird that like this man who called in wants to fight with her about how to raise the kids, how to bathe their kids. I mean, he just seems like a controlling weirdo. A-Dub says to live a happy life, the man should at least do the dishes, pay the bills, and clean the bathroom, and the wife can do the rest, but what do I know? Not a bad deal. That's the problem, the biblical part. I agree. Tina says, married for 35 years now. I work inside, outside. I took care of home. When I needed help, he helps me, and I help him. Is he thrilled to help in the hope? No, but he does it out of respect of me. ICY says, this young man makes no sense at all to me. It seems to me KS was advising him to respect her role in her space. Otherwise, he may have come across too controlling. It sounds like that. But then the fact that KS wants to dwell on the whole, oh, she's a woman, this is her role. If you need to replace her, you can do that. That's the problem I have, that where he turns into things. Thank you, Happy Life. Joanne says we women are too dumb to take care of the money, right? And then to be indoctrinating younger boys is what tops it off. The women fight against the rhetoric and they will still push the message. Happy Life says men that are good with money can definitely teach a woman. Yeah. Empress Kia says if it's not discussed between the two people with your partner, you have to discuss these things with your partner. It's not, there will be a misunderstanding. I agree. And I think, yeah, you do have to talk about parenting, how you want to raise your children with your partner. But I think, like, if a man wants to micromanage every way that you're raising the child outside of standard stuff, like, I think wanting to know where your kid goes to school and the culture that they're going to be culturalized, the foods that they're going to eat, the hobbies they're going to take on, I think wanting to know that stuff is important. But wanting to micromanage how your wife raises the kids is a problem too, right? Especially if you're not going to be the one there to take care of or provide the financial needs of that family. Let's continue though.
Where the house has overlapping roles, and that doesn't really work that well. I've been there. It doesn't work that well.
It don't work.
I don't live that way now.
Right.
See, the problem that I agree, a lot of our women are in their masculine because too many of us are abdicating our masculine and giving to their area. So if you've ever, I don't know if you ever had any Hispanic or Mexican friends, I was surprised to see.
I'm half Puerto Rican.
I was surprised to see how little the men they really did around the house. Even though they could do, black men would have been up doing this and doing that. When I went by my Mexican friend's house, the guys were in the guys' room and the women were doing, and there was peace, happiness, joy, and little Coronas and shit. Yeah, man. So just think about it this way. Even though I have a client, I'll say that I have a client who's a multimillionaire, and they were having marital issues. And I told them they hadn't had sex for months. I was like, what I need you to do is I need you to get up in the morning and leave the house before the crack of dawn, and then you come back after it's dark. And don't tell your wife, you've been out checking on the businesses. I need you to do that for a week. And he called back on the Wednesday and said, oh my God.
And all of this is cute, right? Unless you're trying to build a healthy, functioning, long-lasting relationship. Yeah, I disagree as well, DB. They're talking about what other races of men do in the house. No, they don't. Right? Other races of men come home, they clean, they cook, they mow the lawn, they put kids to bed, they do lots of housework with their wives, right? So this is some ideology that I think is very, very specific to the Black community. Sometimes trying to convince women that other groups don't expect these things out of their women, they don't contribute to their households, and it's just insane. Can you imagine living with Kevin? The arrogance of him. Yeah, the arrogance, and he probably smells funky as hell too. And the funny part is Kevin Samuels was never a productive, functional, dependable father. Most of the time that he was married, the women were the breadwinners. He was earning the lesser income. The family was surviving based off of the woman's income and education, which he also taught men to despise. Right? And it's interesting. I don't know if this is a setup or not, but these type men, they come online and they acquiesce to men they don't even know, but they won't listen to or hear out their spouse and try to do any conflict resolution with their spouse, but they'll give men online all this attention. It's very weird to me. All right, let's continue.
After a few days, she jumped on me, and we've been going at it like teenagers. And I was like, what I need you to do is I need you to go rent an office space, an executive space, and go put a PlayStation in there. But I need you to get up and go, like you're leaving to go to work every day. He's like, why don't you do that? I'm a multimillionaire. Because your woman needs to see you go to work. Women do not need us in their space all the time. They want us away. Even though we can be there, we need to give women time to decompress, time to miss us, time to fart, pick their nose. They human. Right. Time to talk shit with their friends on the phone, and then come home and let her do what she has to do. You do what you got to do and kind of stay in our roles. I think you probably have better outcomes in your next situation if you just kind of keep that top of mind.
Yeah, and I've seen it, like you said, with women of other cultures. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, the submissiveness as well as, them want to cook dinner without you saying nothing. They got everything ready. They just move, in a different mindset of, what the roles are. The roles are clearly defined. And I think in my personal situation, you know, those roles cannot be clearly defined because of our backgrounds. You know?
So knowing that going forward, as the man, what I would suggest doing is define them for yourself and understand that, you know, is this the purview of the woman or more of the feminine or more of the masculine? Does it revolve in protection and provision, or does it revolve for maintenance? Maintenance is hers. You protection and provision. Let her put the babies to bed while you worry about how to get the checkbook balance. Think it'll work better in the future. And here's the thing: just because we didn't learn it growing up or didn't see it growing up, doesn't mean we can't correct it and do better next time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Chief. Later.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, this one right here hit on a topic I hear all the time, especially from brothers in their 30s and up. He's 35, calm, articulate, and clearly fed up. His main point: modern women are way too masculine, too aggressive, too combative, too in your face. And you know what? To a degree, he's not wrong. Kevin seemed to agree at first, because let's be real, we're seeing more and more women leading with masculine energy, trying to dominate conversations, talking like men, moving like men, competing instead of cooperating. But Kevin didn't just let him sit comfortably in that frustration. He gave him a reality check that every man needed to hear. You're right, a lot of modern women are masculine, but here's the part you're missing. Masculine women are the result of feminized men. And that shifted the whole conversation, because you can't complain about women being too masculine while ignoring the generations of men who stopped leading, stopped building, and stopped setting standards. Kevin asked the real questions. What kind of women are you choosing? Are you truly walking in masculine leadership, or are you just reacting to their energy? Have you created the kind of life where a feminine woman could rest in her femininity? That's the part a lot of men don't want to talk about. You say women don't submit, but do you give them anything to submit to? You say they're loud and aggressive, but are you attracting them with silence, passivity, and poor boundaries? Kevin made it clear. Yes, the feminine energy deficit is real. Yes, masculine women are hard to deal with. But blaming them without taking inventory of your own masculinity is a losing game. Because the truth is, a truly masculine man brings out the femininity in a woman, or he filters her out quickly if she can't tap into it. But if every woman you meet is masculine...
See, this is what I'm saying. When you start to identify certain personality traits and core beliefs and like just the way that you display certain things as like being masculine or feminine, like the conversation just certainly it just passes away. I see why. So do you think KS had no seasonal good advice? If we were to judge each other on our past mistakes or bad decisions, none of us would meet the standards to give anyone advice. I see why. I think a broken clock is right at least twice a day, right? He could have given decent advice at a certain time, but some of the other things that he said outweighed the few positive things that he did say. Natasha said, I have to give it to Kevin. He is correct on us not wanting to be around our man all day. Listen, I definitely don't. You know, that was one thing that I realized as we got older, is that some of these men thought women wanted to be up under them all the time. And when I wanted to be at yoga, at the gym, you know, trying new food, shopping, traveling, going on a hike during the day, you know, looking for a new hangout or whatever, versus just being with a man, I just don't think a lot of people understand that. The double talk is wild. I agree. They double speak. They will tell women who argue panels that they are masculine, but tell men they are acting like women. Yeah, exactly. This is why I said where they're being hypocritical, right? He's telling that man, oh, you're trying to do women's things, but at the same time, you tell men to argue and fight over all this stuff and want dominion. Women experiencing normal emotions and displaying normal emotions are not masculine. There's nothing gendered about how we emote, but men want to make it so. A lot of men online want to make it so, especially. I don't know why they have this idea that if a woman like you, they always want to be under you. Biggest lie ever told. Listen, DD, having to live through that has been extremely traumatizing, because you got these dusty men who have nothing to offer, no type of quirkiness or intellectual qualities that are appealing to women, believing that women just want to be up under them. No, I want to be up under my body pillow. I want to be up in front of my Roku. I want to be up under Tubi watching the latest horror flick because that's better than talking to and dealing with you. Right? I'm tired of it. They want to put women in boxes and make them feel like they have to interact with men. And we're so much further past that lifestyle, that mindset. Natasha sent a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Natasha, for your donation and your contribution to my show. It's greatly appreciated. Tina Bright says, "Heck, I was a tomboy, so I can't hunt. So I can hunt, fish, skin a deer, but I couldn't cook it. But I can now. But I also wore dress and would not think I wasn't stronger or better than my man." Yeah, I mean, there's this weird thing that people want to put you in a box based off of your gender. Right? We don't fall into boxes or environments based off of what's in between our legs. Right? We fall there based off our experiences. And for you, your experiences was actually learning those functional things of like hunting, fishing, skinning a deer, and like wearing a dress. All those things were taught to you. They were important at one point. Empress says, "I cannot be under my man all day, every day. It is not in my nature as my individual. Anybody that comes into my life will have to share me with me. Will have to share me, with my family, with my cat, with my co-workers, with my neighbor. I mean, I have my own expressive self. And sometimes it has nothing to do with your romantic partner. So I think it's so weird that some people don't understand and believe that. Like what do you believe that you're able to do on your own?" Again, thank you so much, Natasha, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Right? That's KS. That's somebody who's inspired by KS. All right? So we're going to move on to the next video here. And I want us to actually get a little bit more into the topic of the manosphere and things like that. So this video here is by Kamikaze. He talks about women begging men to approach, or women wanting to be approached so badly. And I'm going to tell you guys this. As a woman who used to be approached daily, momentarily, like I would be outside, work, school, the grocery store, the gym, and men who I did not want to talk to were approaching me. And I'm telling you, women don't want to be approached like that. Maybe there's some women out there who want attention from men, and they're trying to understand where it's going to come from. They're trying to adapt to the new world, right? There's certainly some women out there who may feel like this. But I promise you, I can promise you that the majority of us do not want that. We don't want it from you, your man's, your friend, your married friend, your single friend, your uncle, your daddy, your baby daddy, your cousin. None of it. We don't want it. We don't. All right? But for some reason, this is what the Manosphere, this is what they're telling each other.
You can't make a man approach you, but you can give him signals to come over and speak to you.
For me personally, dating is so hard because the standard that I am looking for is not easy to find.
Guys, what's a girl gotta do? What's it take to get a hi, hey, how are you?
So I want to know, what do you guys think is going on with dating right now?
The desperation for romance grows each and every day, but none of them are willing to approach.
What's up with men? I don't know. I wanted to ask you, men don't come up and ask or talk to you anymore?
Trying to explain to a man that if a girl says to leave us alone, do anything but...
Can I just speak for some of us who are not desperate, male-centered mammies? No. No, we won't. We will not do. Actually, I'll pay anything for you to continue to stop approaching us. If this is what y'all are doing, if y'all claim that you're stopping I will pay money I will pay dollar bills for y'all to keep doing that. Out of my pocket, bro. I'll pay every last dollar in my pocket for y'all to stop talking to me. Stop trying to give me advice on how to exercise. To stop trying to talk to me when I'm exercising. To stop trying to talk to me when I'm leaving an establishment. To stop trying to tell me that I look young or to talk to me about my appearance. Maybe to just stop talking to me in general. I will pay men. If you choose not to talk to me when you had a strong desire to do so, I will send you $5 in cash out. Is that what women have to do now? Lovely. Lovely. Is that what we have to do to avoid talking to you guys? Or are you guys going to keep telling yourselves that we want you to approach us? ICY says, do most women know the attention men are giving them randomly is because they're looking one night stands, not committed relationship? It's in men's nature, realistically. So what I'll tell you is that the reason why MGTOW was created is because they felt like when they were cold approaching women that they were being turned down too much, that women were expecting more. So I do think, yes, that women understand that when men are cold approaching them, it's because they're looking for intercourse and quick sex. And that's maybe why they haven't been getting the results that they're looking for from that. But I don't know, ICY. Where are you coming from? I'm trying to understand you, but it just seems like you want to make excuses for men and their behavior. And I'm trying to understand why. Tina Bright says, I've seen couples who have no security in their relationship. I will cut up with anyone, but don't think I'm easy or free. I will tell any man, hey, you're overstepping. I am not interested. You have to have that edge. You have to be able to speak up for yourself and for your relationship. If a man is pushing upon you, you have a man say, hey, listen, I have a boyfriend. I'm not interested in you. I don't want you, right? A woman with integrity would do that, especially if she were in a committed relationship. So again, I do think women are well aware that these men who are cold approaching and try to make you feel cute and beautiful are looking for sex. And that's why they're trying to woo you or charm you, right? Because it's not real. They're looking for something. DB says, we definitely understand that men approach us because they are sexually attracted. Do you think women are stupid? That's what I'm trying to say, DB. I think some of these people really think women are stupid. And they think that women relate to each other as if we're all stupid. And that's not the case. Right? Most of us understand what men are doing. And we've found ways to deal with men. And we've come up with stereotypes and ways to respond to men. And so when men try to approach us while we're at the store, the corner store, at the grocery store, out to dinner with our girls, on a girls' trip, on vacation, we understand that. Davey says, I approach with the intent to marry. No, the hell you don't. Yeah. As a father with a daughter, the last thing I want to do is make excuses for men. Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Because men, when they do things, they're very well aware of what they're doing. And even though you may approach women with the intent to marry, most of these young men are not doing that. Sorry, I may have muted myself, but I said, let's continue.
Leave us alone.
I finally found where all the men are. They're not at Lowe's. They're not.
First it was don't approach me. Now it's how can I get men to approach me? Amazing. Kindly subscribe to the channel as it further supports us in our work. Thank you.
If you want men to approach you, do your makeup using your beautiful features that you already have. Wear a cute dress.
Every time I ask a girlie how she gets men to approach her, they always tell me it's
The vast majority of single women today say they want to be approached more.
Unfortunately, I do support stalking these men. Yes, in the very beginning.
I would literally do anything for a man I love. Honestly, I would literally do anything for a man I love.
So for females, how do they go about getting approached more?
Too late for that.
Do you wish that men would approach you more?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. I like being approached because it shows that they're taking initiative, and I like that attitude.
Did your boyfriend approach you? How did you guys meet?
No, I actually approached him.
Yes, I feel like now it's a lot of like men are more I don't want to say timid, but like a little more timid and shy.
Yeah, I agree too. I wish they approached us more because I feel like nowadays it's honestly really hard to meet people too. Meeting people is like through apps now, like to join Facebook groups, dating apps. I wish it was like more like whenever everyone just like would approach each other and talk.
Where would a guy approach you at?
I was putting myself in areas where I thought I would find like-minded people. So like walking on the trail here, coffee shops, bars that I like.
Probably on the trail. I think gym too, if it's a little bit more conversational.
I mean, you're hearing it yourself. A lot of women do want men to approach them, even the ones who go online saying, I don't want men to talk to me. Deep down, they actually do, but they won't admit it because they're holding a grudge from some man who hurt them in the past. So now, all men are guilty by association. One guy broke their heart, and suddenly every man is a threat. Every compliment is suspicious. Every approach is too much. This woman said, men won't approach women anymore because they're timid. But let's be real, it's got nothing to do with being timid. The very reason why men have taken a huge step back is because of the backlash they get when they try to make a move. When a woman says, I want men to approach me, she's not talking about every man. She's talking about a certain type of man. So the average man, he's invisible, or worse, punished for simply trying.
That's nice and all, but if you want a guy's attention at a bar, go up and talk to him. Buy him a drink. It's easy.
Where are the guys that are my type? I know there's guys that are my type, like physically, mentally, emotionally. They're out there. They're out there. They're alive. But I've been alive almost 25 years now. Not a single person has like matched my standards. I have extremely high standards. What's going on? What's going on? How many times do I have to be tested until I find the one, huh? Man, that just makes me so mad.
What's up with men? I don't know. I wanted to ask you, men don't come up and ask or talk to you anymore. There was this cute guy, so I like saddled up next to him at the bar and kind of like gave like a look, and he looked right at me and then like looked away. And as we left, one of the other bachelorettes on this trip was like, oh my gosh, that guy kept looking at you. Did you guys talk? I was like, wait, what? You saw it too? Maybe we should have a man on and ask him what that's like. Why don't they do that?
I mean, I get it. A man giving a glance and looking away. The thing is that men in general are hesitant to approach. Some are just looking and not making a move. And really, they don't have to. There's many reasons why a man at a bar wouldn't approach a woman even after glancing. It could be that he's simply not interested enough to take that next step. But you see how much of a problem it has become since men stopped approaching. Many of these women are losing their minds wondering why. They're used to constant attention, validation, and having men compete for them wherever they go.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, DB. I was like, these women must be out in the sticks, and they must be the 4s and 3s of their city, because I still be trying to turn down my communication and my eye contact, hoping nobody talks to me. I really love the antisocial lack of communication. Sorry, y'all, I was over there going to turn something off. I really prefer not to have a conversation with a whole ninja that I don't know or want to talk to. DB says a lot of men that don't, it's because they think they'll get rejected. Davey, I feel like you need to get back with your baby mom and marry the girl. You know, a lot of these men feel like they don't have to. They'll put a baby in a woman. They feel like, oh, I'm too good for her now, just because they didn't birth the baby. ICY says, what I'm learning here is that the more I attempt to understand or be understood, the message is being lost in miscommunication. Men and women seem to interpret things entirely different. No, I think that's you, I see why. I think you're looking for differences. Because I think if you look at what we're saying, there's a lot of similarities. I see a lot of similarities, and I think other women see a lot of similarities in what you're saying. But when you try to translate things into your own understanding that have nothing to do with the foundation, that's the problem. Robin M says, I think men down south are thirsty in general. I think so too. I think so too, Robin. I think they want key, they want access, and so yeah, they definitely act a little differently. All right, let's continue though. Oops, what did I do? What did I do? Oh my god. Okay, here we go. Right here.
Straight at me and then like looked away. And as we left, one of the other bachelorettes on this trip was like, oh my gosh, that guy kept looking at you. Did you guys talk? I was like, wait, what? You saw it too? Maybe we should have a man on and ask him what that's like. Why don't they do that?
I mean, I get it. A man giving a glance and looking away. The thing is that men in general are hesitant to approach. Some are just looking and not making a move. And really, they don't have to. There's many reasons why a man at a bar wouldn't approach a woman even after glancing. It could be that he's simply not interested enough to take that next step. But you see how much of a problem it has become since men stopped approaching. Many of these women are losing their minds wondering why. They're used to constant attention, validation, and having men compete for them wherever they go. Now, when that attention starts to dry up, it hits hard. They begin questioning themselves, questioning men, even blaming society. Some of them jump online and rant about how men are intimidated by strong women, when in reality, men are simply choosing not to waste their time or energy anymore. Others can't accept that times have changed. Men have gotten smarter, more selective.
I would literally do anything for a man I love. Honestly, I would literally do anything for a man I love. I would clean the skid marks out of his boxers. I'd walk through broken glass just to sniff one of his farts. I would make his dinner every night. I would do anything for a man I bloody love. All I want in return is to be loved back, to be taken out for a meal once a month, and to be bought a horse. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
So men assume because you're beautiful and they may see you as a 10. I don't like the number game. Most men don't even feel comfortable approaching what y'all call a 10. They just feel like either when they feel like, well, I can't afford her, her expectations might be too high, she's already getting taken care of, she's used to this, she's used to that. And half the time that girl's phone is dry, she ain't texting nobody, she ain't calling nobody, she ain't went on no dates. That girl is at home reading her books, doing whatever she do, doing yoga, doing her. Okay.
If you're a single man in the gym and you have a gym crush, this is your sign to go talk to them, because please, for the love of God, I am so sick of making eyes with men and doing the stupid little look at you, look away, make eye contact, look away, look for them in the gym. Just come talk to me. It's not that hard. Put on your big boy pants, tell her she's pretty, tell her she's strong, offer to spot her, make a joke, I don't care, just figure it out.
Most men are not falling for this anymore because too many women have said time and time again that they don't want to get hit on in the gym. The bottom line, ladies, is that if you want him to approach you because you're interested, guess what? You can also approach him. You can put on your big girl pants. And I know that a lot of you will not like that solution, but you gotta understand that you sort of created this situation because women don't want to be approached at the gym. They don't even want to be asked for help. They don't want to be asked for that spot. They don't want to even be walked behind, and they definitely don't want to be made eye contact with. So for men to take the risk of being accused for something or kicked out of their safe space simply because he was interested in you and he tried to approach you in a really decent way, that is why men are saying that it's just not worth it. So if you want him, approach him.
I wouldn't recommend any guy to approach women in the gym. Most of the time they're recording for content, and honestly, it's just not worth the risk. There have already been cases where women twisted up their own videos to make it look like a guy was harassing them, when really, he just glanced over or was trying to be helpful. The thing is, women don't understand the risk a man takes when he approaches a woman, especially in a place like the gym. It's not just rejection anymore. It's the possibility of being filmed, shamed online, and labeled something he's not. This woman said, "Put your big boy pants on and approach me." But let's be honest, men have done that. They did put on their big boy pants. And what did they get? Falsely accused, turned into a TikTok villain, dragged on social media for likes and views. It's not about lacking confidence, it's about protecting themselves.
So I want to know, what do you guys think is going on with dating right now? Because part of me thinks like it has a lot to do with dating apps, right? We like have become a society where we're always looking for like the next best thing. That's what I think. And this is no way, shape, or form like a hate video, like there's no good men out there, there's no good women, because I know that there's good people out there. There's no way, shape, or form is this a hate video. I have full faith that there are wonderful people out there. But with that being said, like, what do you think is going on with dating right now? Like, I'm curious, like, what are your guys' perspectives on that?
And sorry, that's a genuine question, right? Because we're coming from a place where men used to want to provide experiences, romance, things like that in relationships to get somebody to want to be with them long term. But yeah, now we have ENM, ethical non-monogamy. I mean, kiss my ass, bro. I'm not sharing a flaccid penis with a second woman. I mean, this. I'm gonna continue.
Why would I chase you when women don't run from the they want? I agree.
At this point, if you're not paying my bills, I'm not even going on a date with you.
And why exactly are some women expecting husband-like behavior from guys they haven't even been on a date with yet?
I have very, very limited bandwidth mentally. If I have to think about like paying bills and rent, I just don't have the energy for a date.
When I hear statements like that, I often question that individual's ability to function as an adult.
And like if I've spent money on my rent, I don't want to leave my house. I'm gonna get my money's worth. If I'm gonna like de-stress and like get ready, get a mani-pedi, do my hair, do all of those things so I can go on a date with you, I can't do that and focus on things like finances. No. I'm very happy alone with my dog at home.
And after hearing that, I can only imagine the rather large amount of gentlemen that, if not more than pleased, may actually even be celebrating that there are in fact some women out there that are choosing to remain single.
This is the kind of bird you want to avoid at all costs. Expecting a man to pay your bills before going on a date is quite literally insane.
And you have some of these women on here now who come on here trying to combat the women, the ideology of feminism and feminists, and we have to combat these mindsets of these women. And they just say the most ridiculous things, just like this mammy here. That I just can't. I don't even know what she said. BB said, "Girl, what?" She's probably saying some nonsense. All right, let's run it back.
Like, what do you think is going on with dating right now? Like, I'm curious, like, what are your guys' perspectives on that?
Why would I chase you when women don't run from the they want? I agree.
At this point, if you're not paying my bills, I'm not even going on a date with you.
And why exactly are some women expecting husband-like behavior from guys they haven't even been on a date with yet?
I have very, very limited bandwidth mentally. If I have to think about like paying bills and rent, I just don't have the energy for a date.
When I hear statements like that, I often question that individual's ability to function as an adult.
And like if I've spent money on my rent, I don't want to leave my house. I'm gonna get my money's worth. If I'm gonna like de-stress and like get ready, get a mani-pedi, do my hair, do all of those things so I can go on a date with you, I can't do that and focus on things like finances. No. I'm very happy alone with my dog at home.
And after hearing that, I can only imagine the rather large amount of gentlemen that, if not more than pleased, may actually even be celebrating that there are in fact some women out there that are choosing to remain single.
This is the kind of bird you want to avoid at all costs. Expecting a man to pay your bills before going on a date is quite literally insane. With these kinds of expectations,
And it's quite literally what no women ever at all in America in this day and age are expecting. Right? It's just not. Let's continue.
going on a date with a man you barely know at that, it shows you exactly where her mindset is. She's not looking for a partner. She's looking for a provider she hasn't earned. Think about it. If she's demanding bill money before even sitting across the table, what do you think she's going to expect once you actually date her? That's not a relationship. That's a transaction. These are the type of women who drain men, always taking and never giving. And she's basically saying, math hurts, so you should be responsible for my bills just to be with me. That's the mindset. You take care of her problems, her responsibilities, her financial mess, all because she thinks her presence alone is enough of a reward. She's saying, I can't handle adulting, so you should carry the load if you want access to me.
The vast majority of single women today say they want to be approached more in real life by men. But this isn't just a problem of saying that guys need to be more brave. This is also an issue of women needing to seem like they want to be approached. So for example, a lot of guys I know will say, I'd love to meet a woman at the gym, that they think women who go and work out regularly.
And let me just say to this point here, DB says, women who expects men to pay their bills before going on a date, these people are so hyperbolic. I agree. They use these hyperbolic arguing talking points to make widespread sweeping generalizations about women and men. And this is the problem that we have. Right? We have this problem in communicating when this is what's being communicated about what women believe and think based off of simple interactions. I can promise you that probably 99% of women today who work, who have their own living, who are not attached to a man, are not going to tell you that they're expecting men to pay their bills and all this craziness. They're not. I'm not saying they don't deserve that and that they shouldn't, right? Let's take the conversation away from what men should be providing. We'll save that for Tough Talks on Thursday. But women are not expecting that. They're not out here waiting for men to do that because that's not what they're able to do. Men are not able to take care of themselves, their own bills, and also provide a home and a stable environment for them and that woman to have children. That's not been the case. That's not been the way things have been playing out lately. So to even act like that's what women are out here out the gate expecting out of men is crazy. All right, let's continue.
Share their values of health and fitness and self-improvement. But the problem is that we're all wearing our headphones at the gym. We're not paying attention to other people and we're trying to get through our workout as quickly as we can. So if we want to be approached more in real life by men, we need to take out our headphones. We need to look and act like we would like to be approached by people and be more open to making casual eye contact with someone or smiling or waving and making it seem like we're ready for someone to come up and talk to us.
So for females, how do they go about getting approached more?
I have constant resting face. Like resting face. And it's like no one's gonna want to approach you when your eyebrow is raised and you look like you're just ready to just tear apart anyone that comes up to say hi to you. And I always have that on because usually I don't want guys to come up and talk to me. In my head, I'm like, it's only gonna be a certain way. It's gonna be, hey, nice, can I buy you a drink? No! So I've realized that if I just kind of walk around being normal, smile, I don't have to put up a wall or anything. It really makes you more approachable. I feel like anyone can sense your energy, that you're more receiving to it and you're not going to bite their head off.
My favorite is complimenting something on a guy, their outfit or something like that, and then just moving away to something else.
Compliments too.
But what's nice is then they know oh, she's a normal human. I could talk to her.
Yeah.
Guys, what's a girl gotta do? If I'm hoping to find my man's out in the wild, whether that's the bar, grocery store, the gym, restaurants, out to eat dinner, whatever, what's it take to get a hi, hey, how are you? Because, you go through the process of doing your hair, your makeup, shifting through and crashing out over 20 different outfits, and you finally pick one because you're always like, yeah, like I'm gonna find my man's tonight. I can feel it. It's gotta be this time. And then it's crickets. It's crickets out there. And I get, like, the problem could be I'm just ugly. Like, I get that. Case closed, problem solved, like, okay, whatever. I understand that. But are we going to get to the point where it's like we have to start branding ourselves with like a number of like, hey, I'm member 12587 of the dating club, and then give off.
Yeah, I get it. Many women go through this phase. They get their hair done, nails done, pick out their best outfit, and walk outside expecting at least a few heads to turn. But then, nothing, not a single compliment, not one guy approaches them. And that silence, it hits their ego hard. Because deep down, they didn't just do all that for themselves.
Oh, sorry. I see why. Yes, I think that if you were really paying attention, you would notice that yes, guys are putting most women in this category when they see these videos. A Shira 7 is not the majority of women. The majority of women who are dealing with regular men are not out here advising other women to use regular men for resources, to use them to level up in life. That is not a regular thing. You are looking and you're not just out for conversation and laughter. Well, I'm really not. Let me just say this. I think in general, anybody who is out there dating should be looking for more. They should be looking for a deeper connection in general. Empress Kia says, I didn't know it was this bad for the chosen ones. I've been out of the loop. Let me just tell you something, Empress Kia. The dating market is about as dusty as it has ever been. If you ever remember it being any dustier than this, that would be beyond, just something different. Tina Bright says, just go out to meet people, not just a man. Go for good conversation and laughter with a friendship vibe, not I want a man. That's not what this is the thing that bothers me. When I was working at a school in California, I went out and I literally bar hopped and went out to nightclubs and stuff with people who I had met that night, men and women, people who, if I would have stayed in California, we would be great friends today. Right? So it's really not just about that. I think some of these spaces online are kind of closing off people's minds to what's available and what's normal. ICY says, but at the same time, aren't there complaints from men that many independent women are masculine? Sure. I mean, that will open them up to meeting more people and maybe the person that will. Davey says, if you want to find a quality person, go volunteer, go to professional events. Possible. It's possible to find better people in those events, but guarantee, no. No. Let me take a look at my device. It's nothing major. I'm gonna cancel it. I'm gonna say no. But okay, sorry guys. I wanted to make sure that I touch more on one video. This is the last video I'm gonna do tonight. And I wanted to touch on this video because for me, I think the most dangerous ideology for men to espouse is ideology that incorrectly speaks on the perspectives of women or men or whatever the case may be. And I think this channel called The Wall, the way they describe things in this video for me was just weird. I thought it was very um, delusional and centered in unrealistic thinking. And so this is why I wanted to talk about it. All right, so we're going to talk about this video from The Wall where they talk about different things that are happening with women today with singleness, childlessness, being career centered, etc.
40% of women will be single by the year 2030. And don't come for me because these are scientific studies. As in single, never been married, and never had kids. And honestly, I am not even surprised by this study at all. We have normalized hookup culture, and most people are on dating apps just for an ego boost and not to find actual love. Let's not forget how social media has truly made a negative impact in the dating world. So what are your guys' thoughts and opinions on this? Do you think this is actually going to happen? Do you think it's true? And yeah, what are your thoughts?
Recently, I've been hearing a lot of buzz around the 2019 Morgan Stanley study that predicts 45% of women between the ages of 25 to 44 will be single and childless by 2030. We're at 41% in 2018, so it's expected that more and more women will be single and childless as the years roll on. I was first introduced to this data last week via TikTok. I wish I had the original video, but I scrolled past it quickly in a panic. My first reaction was, wow, I'm gonna be single forever. I kind of felt bad for myself for a second. I thought, such a shame. What a sad, companionless life I'll live. When I actually began imagining myself alone in my 30s, I was struck with an overwhelming sense of relief. I can stop putting so much pressure on myself to figure out my career today, right now. I can stop telling myself I'm a lazy piece of shit for not having everything, my career or relationship, a plan figured out today, right now. According to Morgan, I got no kids to worry about for a minute. As long as I can afford to go on the seemingly few bachelorette trips to Mexico that are going to happen, I'm Gucci. I can stop putting so much pressure on myself to make a lot of money, travel the world, and do everything I want to do in the next 3 years before I turn 30. What it sounds like Morgan is trying to tell us is that the girls are going to be having Dua Lipa summers for the next solid decade. What is a Dua Lipa summer, you ask? Okay, you know how Dua Lipa is always on vacation? She's with a big group of friends, other hot girls, seemingly some gays, seemingly some straight guys. Everyone's stylish, wearing one-of-a-kind string bikinis paired with rock-hard abs. They make delicious home-cooked meals at their shared estate, smoke cigarettes by the pool, and have moonlit photo shoots. That's gonna be us. Maybe not right now. Maybe not this summer. Maybe not even next summer. But we're going to stack our bread. Save up for that stud bag and the vintage Chanel sunglasses and the blue marine sheer dress. I might be single and childless, but I will be the best dressed at the handful of friends' weddings. Invite me. I'll be the Dua Lipa of honor. The Google AI overview revealed to me that no, Morgan Stanley is not actually a person. Morgan Stanley was started by Henry Morgan, JP's grandson, the JP, and Harold Stanley, some other guy. So while I can't thank Morgan for giving me this peace of mind, I can thank finance as a whole for bringing us something new to aspire to. The many single and childless Dua Lipa summers ahead.
I hope you've got the kind of money Dua Lipa has for those vacations you're planning. Morgan Stanley didn't say...
And you know, I think it's so weird because, again, women are rewriting whatever fake reality that men are trying to create. Sorry guys, I got my hair all pinned up looking crazy. But men really want women to be miserable and sad that things aren't going their way. But I think women are used to that. You know, and the fact that you have these channels that want to correct and sort of deal with women and their mentality is crazy. If a lot of us are thinking we're going to be free, lonely, away from y'all in our 20s or in our 30s and 40s, then what's the problem with that? If we're going to hit the wall, what's the issue with that?
Anything we haven't been preaching for years. Most women will be single because of their idea of not settling, because they keep believing they're the prize. And it's not just their choice. The system also pushes men away from marriage. Current laws make getting married a huge financial risk. Divorces where the man loses his house, half of everything he's earned, and ends up paying alimony for life. A lot of guys have already seen it firsthand. Fathers, brothers, friends going broke. That's why men would rather not play that game. So by 2030, enjoy your cats and the wall, because the wall doesn't forgive.
If you're the nice guy that keeps watching the girl you like get attached to toxic men, you might want to listen up. Today, we're talking about why women love toxic men. Whew, I'm gonna need it. Now, the obvious is that we want to change them. Think of that one thing you were never able to achieve in life. And remember how it felt so good when you finally succeeded? That's why. We want the experience of successfully attaining that thing we couldn't get. When something isn't easy to get, we want it more. Next, usually we feel bad for them. It's not so easy to leave them when we become so invested in their story. Usually this story involves some level of loneliness, and we feel like if we leave them, even though they'll run straight to the next girl, at the end of the day, they'll wind up alone. And the thought of that makes us feel guilty. We like the intensity. Healthy relationships don't have those same intense feelings of toxic relationships. There's no peaks and valleys. It's pretty stable. Although there are low lows in a toxic relationship, the dopamine during those highs becomes addicting. We don't feel like we can get anyone else. Usually that feeling becomes more prevalent the longer you're with a toxic guy. You can't imagine yourself starting over. And the thought of being alone is really scary. And that person has convinced us that they're great, and we believe it. Although it's frustrating to watch people you care about winds up in this cycle, if you're a non-toxic guy watching this, there's hope. This cycle doesn't last forever, and I'm an example of that. You eventually hit an exhaustion point of no return. And although there's a lot of healing to be done after the fact, the good guy always wins.
Stop it. Get some help. Every woman loves going through a toxic guy, and some don't stop at just one, but go through several. It's true. They love the emotional roller coaster, the type of guy who showers them with love one day and knocks them off their cloud the next. Why does it work? Because women hate.
But this is my thing. All of this is coming from the ideology of a male and what they believe that women believe. Instead of just talking to women and asking them and having them tell you. How difficult is that? It's not difficult to give women a chance to consume things before they speak. It's not.
Comfort. Most of them, when they're in a stable relationship with no drama, get bored. They need those dopamine hits from time to time. That's why men are sometimes advised not just to do things, but to act. Act like they might be unfaithful, dress well to go out with friends, have a night out, and come home late. Not let themselves be controlled. Sure, you can be loving, but you have to give her a dose of drama, because they need it, to know they can't control you. That's what makes them treat you better, because they don't want to lose their man.
My 30-something-year-old women who don't have kids yet, but you want kids, but you feel like you're running out of time to have them. Where are you? Because same. And I just feel, I'm 32, and I just feel like I'm in this place in my life right now where I'm a little selfish. I just moved out and bought my house in December with my boyfriend, and I just feel like I want kids eventually. Like, I definitely want children, but I don't want them right now. But then I'm like, am I getting too old? Like, do I need to get a move on? I'm not married yet. I would like to be married before I have my kids. Like, I just feel like there's so much to do, and like I'm running out of time. So, and every time I see my aunt, she asks me when I'm freezing my eggs. So that doesn't help. But like, I don't know. I'm just not ready. I'm still like, I feel like I still have never even had like my dream body yet. I don't want to get pregnant yet. I'm still trying to get fit and like in shape. And like, my friend brought her baby over last week, and it was me and my sister and our friend. And I was like, holy shit, like, you have a baby and then you just have to bring the baby everywhere. Like, I know that sounds probably stupid to some people, but I don't know. Like, I love being able to just like leave the house in the morning and go to Pilates or go meet up with my friends, or, you know, it's like a selfish era, I guess. And I know once I have kids, I will love them and want to spend time with them, and it won't feel like right now I always complain about the dogs. I'm like, I fucking hate feeding the dogs. You know, the dogs are a pain in the ass, but you know, I know children are different. But like, I don't know, can anyone relate? Like 32, definitely want kids someday, just don't want them right now, but like when when's it too late? I don't know.
Women like this don't understand two things. When you have a child, even if you have the freedom to go out with your friends or spend a night away, you're not going to want to. Not because your husband can't take care of the kid, but because you won't want to. Your priorities change and you'll want to do mom things. The other thing is how demonized motherhood has become. It's like she thinks her world will end after having a child, when it's actually the opposite. First of all, you're already 32. Your biological clock is behind. You've got a husband, you should take advantage of that and give him a child. I don't get why they're so obsessed with getting married first. Another thing, you're running out of time, and instead of seizing your opportunity, you're wasting it. Because if you keep waiting and then can't give that man a child, you know he's going to leave. But they don't listen to advice, brothers.
Women.
I've seen that statistic that women over 30 have a 50% chance of getting married. Now, that is an interesting statistic because what I think it's really saying is once you get past 30, only 50% of women are interested in men anymore. That's what it is. It's like, you know what? Once you're 30, you've got your money, you've got your career, you've got your car, you've got a house, you're doing your thing, and you realize unless a man is genuinely nice to me, genuinely nice to me, what good is he doing? What good is he doing around here? Why do I need a man again? For what? For what? So once women get to their 30s, they realize how much they are capable of doing on their own.
And I'm going to say this, Robin, you're very much so correct, right? Women, these men shamed women for so long. They're pulling out of motherhood altogether. I do think a lot of women don't even want to be mothers in general, right? They don't want to be birthers of a nation or anything of that. They believe that it's associated with mammyhood. And I can see why. Right? I can see why.
How great their life can be single. And the interest from women goes down. That's what it is. Because I'm telling you, I'm getting a lot of men confused in my comments and in my DMs about what exactly I'm trying to say when I'm making it clear that I'm single and child free and like in my 30s. That's not an advertisement for you to date me. It's not. I don't want to date you. Definitely not if you're commenting on my posts being like, I'm a single dad, I'm 33, I've got... My condolences. My condolences to you. Sorry to hear that. But that's got nothing to do with me. And it never will. Numbers don't lie, but you can absolutely manipulate them to fit your narrative. So anytime you hear a number, you gotta think about that statistic. What else could that be saying? What other reasons could explain why that number is the way it is? Gotta put your thinking caps on for that one.
She says that by 30, women don't need a man because they've got a car, a career, and a house. What they don't talk about is the other side of the story. Most of those women are also buried in debt, student loans, mortgages, credit cards, even car payments. And a lot of them end up back at their parents' house because they can't afford to live on their own. Most men in their 30s are looking for younger women. A man who hits his 30s with his life in order isn't looking for a woman drowning in bills. He doesn't want a liability. He wants someone who adds value. And that's the issue. Aside from the fact that their biological clock is already working against them, a lot of these women aren't an asset. They're a burden. So don't expect a man to be your lifeline.
Something I learned from my toxic relationship, and one of the worst things a man can do to you is future fake you. When a man messes up and they betray you, they will come back and make you false promises and into the future saying, oh, I'm going to change, I'm going to go to therapy, or I'm
I just realized I was muted for half of that. Sorry.
Florabella on my screen. Her smile it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene. In the morning or the night. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora. She's got that power. Spreading her aura. Blossoming like.
Let me just pause for a second, guys. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that I was muted and you guys weren't hearing me. So I will say I am sorry for the confusion, for the distraction. But I will see you guys on the next one. I'll see you guys on the next show. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Manosphere and what type of environments that they are cultivating. All right, what type of conversations and men are being encouraged to be who they are in these spaces. We will talk about it. So, anyways, I'll see you all on the next one. If you guys can do me a favor and hit the like button, I am going to play my latest song, Unstoppable Flora, and maybe even my anthem, On Your Way Out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the music and like, share, and subscribe on your way out. Thank you.
Florabella on my screen. Her smile it shines so bright. She's a queen with every scene. In the morning or the night. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora. She's got that power. Spreading her aura. Blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong, she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora. She's got that power. Spreading her aura. Blossoming like a flower. Recipes and good vibes flow. Every video a gem. Her confidence it grows and grows. We're inspired like her friends. Unstoppable Flora. She's got that power. Spreading her aura. Blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong. With every like and every share, we feel her energy. No storm too strong, she can't bear. She's setting us all free. Unstoppable Flora. She's got that power. Spreading her aura. Blossoming like a flower. Through the highs and all the lows, she remains so strong. Her spirit always glows. She's where we all belong.